be erect and peaceful, closure of your eyes, simply observing your breathing. Inhale slowly. Gently open your eyes. With morning's discussion, as we were going ahead with those last few shloka of the fourth chapter, it was a great learning where it was very clear how our yogic practices become very important in order to lay a foundation from the grosser aspect of our existence to go towards the subtler aspect of our existence. When we were discussing about the manaha, the buddhi, and as Patanjali has rightly pointed out in his explanation about the attainment of yoga, and he says chittavritti, nirodha is yoga. And in that chitta, as it is comprising of manaha, buddhi, ahankara, everything today we were discussing today was very well connected to the manaha with respect to the indriya. And buddhi, as we were talking about how manaha, buddhi, and ahankar play a very vital role in understanding various aspects of our life, whether it is related to desires, whether it is related to our aspirations, whether it is related to self realization. Even for self realization, we need to understand the same chitta has to be brought into consideration in order to experience the ultimate states. And to experience the ultimate states, unless and until we withdraw the external senses, we will not be able to activate the anthakarana, the internal instruments. And the internal instruments are this very manaha, buddhi, ahankar, and chitta. And our yogic practices, whether it is simple Shuddhi Kriya, whether it is an asana, or whether it is attitudinal observations or changes like self restraints and self disciplines, these are all meant for that reflection through the state of our chitta, where all the three are involved. We should always be in that moment, okay, how our mind is responding to the same, how our intellect is responding to the same. Are we succumbing to our false ego, or we are doing justification to our true ego? So when this kind of clarity comes in, the action will become, you know, uh, the right action. And that's where the right action is not only with the physical abilities, but also with the mental understanding. Many a times, Guruji used to say, अगर मैं कहूंगा इस चोटी पर चढ़ जाओ और खुद ही मारो तो क्या तुम मारोगे? तो एक स्टूडेंट ने कहा, सर आपकी बातें तो सर आंखों पे, मैं तो आप जो कहोगे कर लूंगा। उसने ऐसे कह दिया। और दूसरे बंदे ने कहा, सर आई विल मेक यू रियलाइज कि what is going to happen to me if I listen to you, and at the same time, what will be the repercussions on you as well as on me? And the third student said, Sir, as the earlier one said, ना, कि आपने कह दिया तो मैंने तो खुद ही मारनी मारनी है. But at the same time, I have realized that if my guru is saying something, I am not thinking twice on his instructions. I know whatever he says is good for me. तो एक ने समझ-बूझ कर ये डिसीजन लिया कि मैंने हाँ ठीक है, गुरुजी ने कह दिया तो मैंने खुद ही मारनी है. और दूसरे ने ये कह दिया, सर आप सोचो, समझो, बताओ, करो, कुछ भी करो. आपने कह दिया, मैंने 1 सेकंड भी सोचना नहीं है, मैंने खुद ही मार देनी है. और तीसरे ने ये कहा कि मैं आपको ये रियलाइज करवाना चाहूंगा कि सर, यहाँ से मैं गिर जाऊंगा तो मेरा हाथ पैर टूट सकता है, मेरी जान जा सकती है. ना सिर्फ मेरा अपना लॉस हो सकता है, बल्कि आपका भी लॉस हो सकता है. तो गुरुजी was just trying to make us understand how a person is connecting to all the aspects of jnana, karma, and bhakti. And in bhakti, the student may not think twice in order to take that decision because he has full faith. And the other says, it is my karma. Whatever happens, let it happen. I will go through it. And the third one says, no, let me make everything realized. So many a times, our antahkarana leads us to all the three faculties and makes us to take the decision. And somewhere to always improve upon our decisions, that means how to commit those decisions. We take various yogic help, whether it is jnana yoga, whether it is karma yoga, whether it is bhakti yoga. So when you people were giving various examples, all those examples were really very beautiful, and I was learning a lot. And I was trying to understand, somewhere the pranayam is happening, somewhere the pratyahar is happening. To make that pranayam and pratyahar happen, already the conditioning of the body is essential. Otherwise, the person will not be able to have that mentality to think and act. इनफैक्ट उसमें और एक जानवर में कोई फर्क ही नहीं होगा. तो इंसान तब बनता है when he has total control on his body, on his thinking abilities, and on his reactions or on his responses. So how important is our practical yogic practices, whether they are cleansing practices, whether they are making our body strong with asanas, or whether they are disciplining our breaths and training our mind to be calm, quiet, and peaceful with pranayama. And at the same time, simultaneously, the pratyahar is happening to withdraw the senses and not let the senses to rule us, but let our mind and our intellect to rule the senses. Senses are there to serve you, but it should not happen that we are becoming servant of the senses rather than senses serving us. And in spirituality, senses do serve us to attain that ultimate state. As Ashutosh sir was saying, that body is the medium to reach that goal. This is how we have to utilize our senses, our body, our intellect, our mind appropriately in order to reach that state. In the last class, when we did all these four pranayamas like Surya Bhedanu Ujjayi, Sitkari, and Shitali, we came to the conclusion that with the help of this Shitali and Sitkari, we are bringing about a kind of changes in the body in such a manner the body is going to avoid any kind of problems coming to it. What are those changes which are going to prevent these problems? And what are these problems? The changes are going to be thoroughly the balanced state of mind body, the doshas, which is in result going to avoid gulma, pliha, adikan, rogan, jwaram, pittam, shudham, trisham. So any tumors in the body, any glandular enlargements in the body, they are going to be taken care of. That means if they are about to come, they will not come. See, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras also, in the second chapter, the 16th sutra, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam, the problem which is yet to come, the dukkha which is yet to come, needed to be avoided. And here also, when we are going through yogic practices and when the benefits and the results are highlighted, it is just for our understanding that the future coming of the dukkha or the problems or the diseases are kept at bay. And this is where we are bringing about the changes. इसीलिए कभी कभी श्लोक में ऐसे लिखा हुआ रहता है ना, जरा मृत्यु विनाशक. So the old age or the death is not going to be destroyed or is not going to be stopped. But at the same time, the state of mind and body is so good that it is like you're living in the moment and not bringing about those changes which are going to make you feel weak, which are going to make you feel distressed. And that is where we are avoiding the problems which are yet to come. And when we say such type of diseases are kept at bay, jwaram, pittam, shudham, trisham. These are the symptoms. These are the, when we say jwara, it is the symptom when anything is wrong in the body. That is taken care of. When we say pittam, shudham, trisham, the any kind of imbalance in the vata, pitta, kapha is also taken care of. Especially with the help of Shitali and Sitkari, we are managing the pitta dosha very well there. That is to be clarified. So anything imbalance with pitta, maybe rashes on the skin, maybe boils on the skin, maybe something related to ulcer in the body, or feeling heat in the body, or feeling that kind of warmness while doing any activity of the body. This is something related to the imbalance of the pitta. As we go ahead and practice Shitali and Sitkari, we are making this thing settled, this thing balanced. And with this thing balanced, the hunger and the thirst, which are again the symptoms of the body which is involved with the material world. Now you will say, now these are not my own words. This is something which is coming to me from my Guruji. He used to say that when we say that we are controlling our hunger, we are controlling our thirst, this is all because we are more with respect to the Panchamahabhautik Sharira, which is comprising of earth, water, fire, as well as air and the space or ether, you can call. So whenever there is the deprivation of any Mahabhuta, the requirement of the same the indications is given, and that is the symptom of hunger, that the earth element or maybe some other element is slightly lacking to keep the body as it is. And here, every pranayam, it is not only Shitali or Sitkari, is going to make you self-sufficient with respect to prana only to sustain. And as that sustenance takes place, obviously, you won't come across hunger or thirst. You will be able to take care of them. See, when a person is trupta with spiritual point of view, not with desires point of view or material point of view, he will forget about everything related to bhook pyas. and sometimes even certain trupti related to material world also make him forget भूख और प्यास. कभी कभी हम कहते हैं ना कि तुम्हारी दी हुई खुशी से तो मेरी भूख प्यास ही मिट गई है. आई एम नॉट फीलिंग, आई एम सो हैप्पी. If this is the happiness which is creating a kind of change in the physical abilities or the physical functionings, then believe me, that kind of changes at our sukshma sharira. Because when the physical body was worked upon with the shatkarmas and with the help of asanas, we were slowly transcending or going into the state of sukshma sharira, from sthula to sukshma. And as we go beyond the pranayama, dharana, dhyana, we may be entering into the karana sharira and bringing about changes over there too. Now, this is how we need to understand this result. And what he says, Vishani Shitali Nama Kumbhako Ayam Nihanti. Whatever poisons that are coming to you in the body. Now, whatever poisons means, it is not only the poisons which are coming into our body because of eatables, even the thoughts, even the poisons which are created because of our senses, the desires. These are all poisons. And anything which is distracting you and deviating you from the path of yoga is a poison. So here it is very clear how important for all of us is to understand the pranayama, not only the physical point of view, but how it will bring about the changes in our sukshma sharira in order to lead us to that ultimate state where we are bringing about the changes and going towards mukti. Here, as we end this, we will go ahead to Bhastrika now. Coming to Bhastrika, the first shloka of Bhastrika, which is the 59th one, talks about the Adhara Asana. The importance has been given second time now. Earlier it was given during Surya Vedan. Now again it is given in Bhastrika. Even Surya Vedan also it is told that you first make yourself comfortable in an asana where you are able to regulate your breaths. And now here he is giving us the technique itself. Urva uru upari padatale ubhe padmasanam bhave detat sarva papa pranashanam. This was the aspect which I was talking about earlier. Sarva papa pranashanam. When we say papa or sins, sins is the result of something because of our past. Sins is not to be taken always as bad as we usually do. But I will take anything as a sin if it is a karma which is maybe punya or maybe papa, because ultimately I am going to go through the result of the same. Na? So if I am going through the result of my deeds, this Padmasan is going to bring about that kind of altering in me where I will be overcoming all kinds of deeds or all kinds of fruits thereof because of the deeds. When I'm going to overcome that, that is where we have to understand Sarva Papa Pranashanam. नहीं तो एक साधारण स्टूडेंट ऐसे पूछेगा, सर पद्मासन करने से सारे पाप धुल जाएंगे? तो सोचने वाली बात है. कहीं किसी बेवकूफ के दिमाग में अगर ये बात आ गया कि ही विल से, तो इसका मतलब मैं कर्म करता जाऊं, पाप करता जाऊं और पद्मासन करता जाऊं, मेरा काम तो चल रहा है. Now that is where the person is very immature. So to raising our maturity level to the understanding of these shlokas and trying to understand why Swatmaramji has again stressed on sitting in Padmasana, so that you are not allowing your mind or body to get involved in any other material aspects. And that is where he is saying Sarva Papa Pranashanam. So Padmasana, which is the destroyer of all the evils, maybe the good deeds for which you will appreciate, maybe the bad deeds which you will repent. Why appreciation and why repenting there? Just get rid of them. So in this position, placing firmly the two soles on the opposite side, opposite thighs, be seated. And that is Padmasana. He makes it very clear. And in the next shloka, he tells us, Samyak Padmasanam Badva Samagriyava Udaram Sudihi. We are already into the third chapter, sixth chapter of Dhyana Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, where now shortly, maybe in the next class itself, we will be coming to that shloka where it is told how to sit with our head, neck, and spine erect in one line. Samakaya Grivo. So all these words utilized and made us understand that steadiness of the body is very important. Having been seated in this balanced state, what he says, Mukham Sanyamya Yatnena Pranam Granena Rechayet. Mukham Sanyamya, where you have to keep your mouth closed, inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, producing that sound. Now, when the sound is produced, that means you are doing the inhalation and exhalation very actively. That means it is a dynamic way of performance. Immediately, let us go ahead and understand the next shloka, the 61st one, what it says. Yatha lagati hatkante kapalavadi saswanam vegena puraye chapi hat padmavadhi marutam. As you are settled in Padmasan, the practitioner with the neck, the spine, and the whole body held in that erect position, sitting in Padmasan, with his mouth closed and putting in effort. He has mentioned it very clearly that you have to put in effort. And with that effort, you are exhaling through the nostrils, making a sound so that the exhalation is felt in the chest, the throat, or you can understand the upper skull region. So that should be your inhalation and exhalation. Then he should breathe in quickly. That means inhalation till the inhaled air reaches the cardiac region, that is the lungs. So your breathing should be experienced in the chest, in the throat, and also in the skull. When I say skull, or when this shloka says that you should feel it in the kapala, make it very clear. It is the frontal sinus through which the inhalation and exhalation as a pathway are very fierce in this kind of practice. And when we go through this and understand that we have to do dynamic inhalation and exhalation and have a feeling of them, feeling of their friction in the chest, in the throat, and in the skull, he is going ahead and making us understand the next. And what he says, this is not to be done only once, it has to be done again and again. Punaha virachayet tat vat purayetcha punaha punaha yathaiva loha karena bhastra vegena chalete tathaiva swasharirastham chalayet pavanam dhiyaha. In Kapalbhati, we had read the same word, loha, karasya. So is it that the previous one of Kapalbhati strokes and this are same? You can consider as Kapalbhati as the preparation for Bhastrika. But the strokes are different. In fact, his explanation in this Sanskrit words are also different. There I had mentioned very clearly in Kapalabhati, the ironsmith, when he pulls the bellows down to let the air get filled in the bellows, he just releases the rope and let the air fill in the belly of the bellows. And again he pulls it down. That means filling in of the air in Kapalabhati is passive. An expulsion of the air out of the lungs is very active. But here it is different. And it is said, Vegena Purayet api. You have to inhale very quickly. That means inhaling quickly means putting efforts to that inhalation. So here the inhalation will become active. Earlier in Kapalabhati, the inhalation was passive. But here the inhalation is going to become active. And when he says, Puna virachayet dvat पूरयेच्च पुनः पुनः यथैव लोहकारेण भस्त्रा वेगेन चाल्यते. This vegena chalyate is the word which is not used in Kapalabhati. It is only said कि the way it is being done, it is not too fast. अब एक लोहार को अपने सेगड़ी में आग को सुलगाने के लिए खाली वो अपने भस्त्र से उसको वहां पर फूंक ही तो मारनी है, और वो अगर कभी धीरे धीरे भी करे तो भी सिगड़ी से लग रही है, और आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके धीरे धीरे करे तो भी से लग रही है, और जोरों से करे तो और भड़क रही है. यानी कपालभाति के कंपैरिजन में भस्त्रिका इज मोर डायनामिक एंड मोर हीट प्रोड्यूसिंग. दिस इज वेरी क्लियर. एट अ टाइम मेक द स्टूडेंट to perform Kapalbhati for a long period. And then somewhere around after 6 months, maybe, of regular practice, you can introduce the Bhastrika so that the preparation and the body is ready to sustain the results of Bhastrika. And then he says, the way you have managed speedily the Bhastra, in the very similar way, Tathaiva Swa Sharirastham Chalayet Pavanam Dhiya. In the very similar way, you have to manipulate your breaths as you inhale and exhale in the very similar manner. And the next sentence for the 63rd shloka, what does it say? Yada shramo bhavet dehe tada suryena purayet. As your body gets into fatigue, gets tired of doing that inhalation, exhalation very actively. Now in Kapalbhati, this you are becoming tired. But here in Bhastrika, the word is used. You will feel fatigue because of your strokes. In Kapalbhati, since the inhalation is passive and exhalation is active, whatever strokes you give, whatever may be the duration, ideally, my school talks about doing it 1 minute, maybe 3 rounds. And in that 1 minute, from 60 to 120 to 150 strokes, you can go ahead, as we discussed during the Kapalbhati explanation. But in Bhastrika, it is said that you should do more strokes in minimum time, not wait for 1 minute. And within 10 seconds to 20 seconds, you will experience that kind of, heat in the body, and you will feel some kind of understanding that I need to stop here. The moment you stop, yatha shramo bhave dehe, when the bodily fatigue sets in, what he says, suryena purayet. You have to inhale through the Surya Nadi, that is through the right nostril. So closing your left nostril, inhale through the right, and then closing it, go for the Kumbhak phase. और फिर वो नेक्स्ट श्लोक के अंदर हमको पूरा डिटेल टेक्निक देते हैं. क्या कहते हैं? यथा उदरम भवेत पूर्णम पवनेन तथा लघु धारयेन नासिकाम मध्य तर्जनीभ्याम विना दृढ़म. In Hatha Pradipika, here it comes. In Gheranda Samhita also it has been explained कि मध्य तर्जनी वीणा, ये मिडल फिंगर और इंडेक्स फिंगर के बिना आपको नासिका को पकड़ना है. So here, धारयेद नासिका, catch hold of your nose to retain the breath in. How? मध्य तर्जनी भ्याम वीणा and दृढ़म विधिवत कुंभकम कृत्वा. जैसे पहले आपको बताया, विधि बताई गई आपको कि कुंभक कैसे करना चाहिए. भैया पहले ही मूलबंद होना चाहिए. जैसे ही आपने नाक कुंभक करते हुए और फिर उसके बाद में उदर के भाग को अंदर की तरफ, पीछे की तरफ ले जाना चाहिए, जिससे हम कहेंगे उड्डयन बंध. So विधिवत that is कुंभक कृत्वा रेचयेद ईड़ा नीलम. Then go for releasing of the chin lock and exhale through the left nostril, that is ईड़ा नाड़ी. और उसका रिजल्ट भी वो तुरंत बता देते हैं हमको, कहते हैं वात पित्त श्लेष्महरम शरीर अग्नि विवर्धनम. इससे जो है आपके वात पित्त और कफ से रिलेटेड जितने भी इम्बैलेंसेस हैं वो करेक्ट हो जाएंगे. एंड एट द सेम टाइम द हीट इन द बॉडी, शरीर अग्नि vivardhanam, it is going to rise, it is going to go up. So see, up to 65, he is not only making us understand the approach, the sitting position, the kind of mentality we should have before going ahead, and then how to go about with the puraka rechaka, fast breathing in and breathing out without kumbhaka there, dynamic performance like the bastra of lohar. As that is done, then he talks about immediately coming to the inhalation to the right as the fatigue sets in, and then kumbhak vidhivat as per the technique told before, and then releasing the chin lock going for the rechaka through the left nostril. That is where one cycle is completed. Now you can do as many cycles as you want, but every cycle will be comprising of these two phases. One phase is the phase of stroke, and the second phase is the phase of doing the puraka through the right and going for the kumbhaka and rechaka through the left. So this is how is the technique of भस्त्रिका has been explained. अगले श्लोक में हमें और भी benefits बताए जाते हैं, यानी results, कुंडलिनी बोधकम and all is going to come. But before going ahead to the next, that is 66th one, let us discuss this. If there is any doubt in your mind, let us clarify that.
So, Sagar, are we saying that with every one cycle, that is one inhalation and exhalation of Bhastrika, we have to then inhale through the right? No.
No. He says, do it again and again. देखो, हमारा जो 62nd श्लोक है ना, उसमें लिखा हुआ है, पुनः विरचयेद् पूरयेच्च पुनः पुनः. Do it again and again. Inhalation, exhalation has to be done again and again.
Right.
It has to be done repeatedly. And when you do it again and again, then only the fatigue will set in. Na? As the fatigue sets in, then you have to do puraka through the right and then doing the kumbhaka and rechaka.
So the practice could comprise of several sets of those strokes, and after every set, when some fatigue sets in, then you do this inhalation through the right, exhalation through the left, till the body settles down, and then the next set of Bhastrika, the strokes, and then again this, and this way you carry on for whatever duration.
Yes. Now to tell you one thing, I had been the student of my institution, which is Yoga Vidya Niketan, and also Kaivalya Dham. So when I was practicing in Yoga Vidya Niketan, there the technical aspect is, as you go through this routine, every 3 cycles comprises of 1 round. And in one sitting, you should do at least 3 rounds. That means 9 cycles. That means 9 times giving 20 strokes and doing the puraka through the right, kumbhaka, and then rechaka through the left. That is 1 cycle. And that is how we are supposed to do 9 cycles, which comprises of 3 rounds. The same thing I practiced in Kaivalya Dham, and they did not restricted the number of strokes. They said, it is said that unless the fatigue sets in. Now, the 20 strokes, when I tried to find out the reference, the 20 strokes have been clearly written in Gheranda Samhita. It is very clearly written. Vyushati. 20 times you have to do that. And then go for Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. But in Hatha Pradipika, the 20 strokes is not mentioned. It is said that you should do the strokes until the fatigue sets in. So we need to know by what time the fatigue sets in And that fatigue is a manageable fatigue. It is not that we are not able to do anything else later on. And then go for the Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. And in this way, you go on practicing it. So both the things are there. And it is always said, Bhastrika is practiced in two phases. One phase is only the strokes, inhalation, exhalation, both active. And Swami Kuvalananji in his book of Pranayam has clearly written, to meet the standards of Hatha Pradipika, the student should do Kapalabhati strokes in Bhastrika so that he learns ultimately to do Bhastrika strokes later on. So as a preparatory, now if I am sitting in front of you and going ahead with Kapalabhati strokes, these are like this. These are Kapalabhati strokes. But when I go for Bhastrika strokes, you saw that inhalation, exhalation, both active. And earlier one, only expulsion. But when it comes to Bhastrika, both are active. So this difference makes us understand the strokes. So to make both the inhalation and exhalation active for Bhastrika, a student who is at the preliminary level can start the practice with Kapalabhati strokes and do the Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. That's what Swami Kuvalananda says and has written. But that reference is not there in any of the Hatha Yoga text. Any of the Hatha Yoga text. It is not given there. It is only the version. So see the contemporary teachers, the great teachers like Dr. Yogendra, or you can say Swami Kuvalananji, or you can say Swami Shivanandaji, Swami Satyanandji. These people have brought quite a understandable changes to the practice of Bhastrika. If you go to Bihar School of Yoga and try to understand their way, they don't have the second phase at all. They just go for the continuation of the strokes. And that is like, you know, the steam engine, as it starts from the station, वो आवाज जो है ना, the strokes, it goes slow and then catch up the speed and then continues. The moment the next station comes, फिर वो बाद में वो धीरे धीरे रुकता है. That is how they teach. If I just want to make you understand, this is how they start. अब देखो, पता नहीं कैमरा पे हमें कितना समझ में आया, लेकिन आपको पता है कि जिस तरह से एक स्टीम इंजन स्टार्ट करता है तो शुरुआत में छैक पुक करके बड़ा टाइम गैप लेता है, लेकिन एक बार जब वो अपना मौसम पकड़ लेता है, फिर उसके बाद में कैसी आवाज आती है, और उसके बाद में अल्टीमेटली जब दूसरा स्टेशन आता है तो स्लो होने के लिए वो इंजन कैसे होता है. तो उनका कहना ये है कि you have that thing in the mind and practice Bhastrika along with that. And you know, Bihar School of Yoga has done few studies on that way of practice, and they have proved how Bhastrika helps various type of people. In fact, they have utilized Bhastrika, the first stage of Bhastrika, let us understand, where there is only strokes, there is no Pura, Kumbhak and Rechak. They say it is very good for people who are in anxiety as well as in depression. Anxiety is a state of hyperactivity. But still, when you are inducing this kind of action, these repeated high actions are going to bring about a kind of relaxation response in the nervous system. As this relaxation response is induced, after the performance is done, the person sits quietly and is not able to think anything else, but he is just into the state of gathering his breaths and becoming calm. And that itself, with the regular practice, brings about his anxiety level down and makes him balanced. A depressive person, because of any thought, any emotion, which is making him completely digressed, feeling negative, because of this practice, gets the, you know, you can say the cortisol moving in your body and giving that pumping action, that spark at the root of your nerves, making you active and understanding how to get rid of such kind of emotions which are pulling you down rather than remaining in it and overcoming it. So ये जो उन्होंने जो थियरी अपनाई, it was very beautiful, and they make many people, not just 30 or 60 people, they tested it on almost 400 to 500 people, and it is there available in their magazines. They have shared it there also. So this way you will find that Bhastrika is practiced in a different manner at different levels from different institutions, but none of them are compromised or wrong or anything like that. They have their own understanding of the subject of Bhastrika, and they have proved it, okay, how it is helping. So one thing is very clear, as Bhastrika also comes to us from various texts are also giving us different techniques. So many a times Ashutosh sir will say, one text says to practice like this and the other text says to practice like this. Then Sabir Bhai, what should we practice? Now Sabir Bhai will say, what suits your nature, sir? Again, try to understand what kind of person we are, how I am reacting and responding to the situations. And I should understand my Prakruti there, and understanding the Prakruti, I should introduce the type of Bhastrika which will help me to overcome that. Now, that is where the teacher plays a greater role rather than the student taking the decision and going ahead. So, teacher should understand what is the right thing to be done by that student at that time and go ahead. We should not stick, or we should not be very rigid with the kind of performance of Bhastrika with only one method. In fact, the teacher should understand the person and which type of Bhastrika is going to help that ability to enhance his shortcomings, enhance in the sense overcome his shortcomings and enhance his positivity. So that way we should go ahead and bring about the changes. Now, again, the discussion is open.
Alright, so let's say that as described here, Bhastrika comprises of two phases.
Yes.
And so what Bihar School of Yoga is saying is that, look, if you perform only phase one, that itself is therapeutic in nature.
Yes.
Right. So, for one, I mean, of course, there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, it applies to so many things. So if we say that, look, Jalneti and Sutraneti is step 2 in a way of Jalneti, but fine, never mind Sutraneti, you do Jalneti enough, that itself keeps your, the sinuses and all that clean. That's good enough. So per se, I don't see any harm in going through the complete practice. Maybe the second part is doing something to balance out the body and the element, so that the practice can be sustained for a longer duration.
I am coming to that now. Sir, you have any doubts until now, whatever we have discussed?
No.
Okay, fine.
And generally, my eye specialist has advised me against these vigorous breathing exercises.
You should not do. You should
my
not
retina will get affected. That's why I am keeping away from these vigorous exercises.
In fact, people with irritation in the throat, tonsillitis, or soreness in the throat, they should not practice Bhastrika. People with ear infection, secretions coming out of ears, they should not practice. People with glaucoma, increased pressure in the eyes, they should not practice it. These are the things which one should be taking into consideration before the practice of Bhastrika. Even if a person is experiencing breathlessness, the lack of proper breathing style, and his body out of shape, imbalanced, and somebody says, Bhastrika karo, tumhara weight loss hoga. Because there are people in their weight loss, they introduce Bhastrika on the day one. And that is the biggest blunder they do. They are not understanding the person's ability. और उनके दिमाग में एक ही बात रहती है कि it will bring the fat content in the body to the lower side, but it is going to be very dangerous at the same time. Anyways, but here all this contraindication kept in the mind, we were trying to discuss okay, if the strokes are given when the dynamic again and again inhalation exhalation strokes are given, the next step as per Hatha Pratipika, which says inhale through the right, close it, do the kumbhaka as per the instructions given before, and then go for the rechaka from the left nostril. Now, this is the kind of heat that you have developed in the body. It should be given a course. See, when you do these strokes, the prana existing at all levels, whether it is apana, whether it is samana, whether it is prana, whether it is vyana, or whether it is udana, they are all activated. They are all into, some or the other kind of energized movements. And we need to make them settle down. To make them settle down, to channelize that heat which we have produced in our body because of that strokes which was done up to the state of fatigue is attained, we are doing that puraka through the right, of course, with the ratio. And that ratio is again 1:4:2. Because he very clearly says, Vidivat Kumbhaka. You have to understand that written there. Okay, always do Kumbhaka as it was said earlier. So in that, the beginner, the medium student, and the ultimate intense practicing student. So what kind of practice you are doing? Whether you are mild with your practice, whether you are a medium range practitioner, or whether you are a intense practitioner. All these three things will matter when you do that Kumbhaka and then doing the Rechaka. So doing this Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka, more than bringing about certain changes, it is like, bringing the body to that kind of settlement where things are becoming again to that level where you can go ahead. Now imagine, because I remember this when my teacher said, okay, this is the level index. And while practicing the first cycle, you have raised your level to this. Then with the second, you will start from this and raise your level here. From third, you will raise your level here. From fourth, you will raise your level here. And every time, as you do the Pura, Kumbhak, and Rechak, you are settling down in position and going up. That means sustaining the position of the state of the body is very important to go further. That thrust which is needed before the practice is retained and we become stable at that level and then go ahead in the next. So that it is like, beautiful, what you can say, physical engineering, you can say, that can be brought about with the practice of pranayama itself to bring about these changes. And there is one beautiful book from Kaivalya Dham, which is containing lot of research studies. And in those research studies, one study on Bhastrika is mentioned in that book. Apart from Yoga Mimamsa, which is their research journal, nowadays they are not into that many studies. Since last 6 years, I have hardly seen 2 or 3 researches being done by Kaivalya Dham. That is a pity. But at the same time, the one which have been done earlier, we come to the conclusion how this book is making us understand the results of Bhastrika and encouraging us to understand various situations of our life. In that book, the person, after writing that paper, in the discussion, he says what he is trying to say. As you're practicing Bhastrika, imbibe the same values in your life. Whatever you have achieved until today and at this moment, Let it be there for the sake of being there. Do not have connection with it. In fact, forget about it and try to go to a higher. That means you are laying down at every level a benchmark for yourself to have another benchmark and keep on excelling and doing justification to those two beautiful shloka which tells us about the uh, definition of yoga from Bhagavad Gita. One is your Samatvam Yoga Uchate, and the next one, the 50th one of the second chapter, which talks about Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Dexterity in skill is yoga. So, being in that skill of performing Bhastrika to the utmost level, to the best of your ability, and going on performing likewise regularly is like excelling in doing it and remaining in that balanced state. So both the statements, though both the statements are very much interconnected, when he says buddhi yukto jahatiha sukrutaihi dushkrutaihi, and then he says ubhe sukrutai dushkrutaihi, then he says tasmad yogaya yujjasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So this beauty of bringing ourselves to that balanced state and leaving it there and there, trying to excel and keep on excelling, buddhi yukto, that intellectual state where the clarity has come to you, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is success, what is failure, and the balance has been retained. And now being in that state, you keep on working on the excellence and going ahead. That is where the yoga is getting established. So here also, when Swatmaramji says, you have to do it again and again, and keep on practicing, it is going to make us understand that you come to a level where you go ahead. And this is beautifully brought about in that research paper. That person presented it in a conference, and such kind of value consideration was connected to the performance of Bhastrika that everyone felt, yes, this is how the life changes are coming to an individual with the practice of pranayama. How a person is a different person from what he started with earlier, and now how he is going through at present. If you see the 66th shloka, apart from that 65th one, as it says that Vata Pitta Shleshma Haram, and it is saying Sharir Agni Vivardhanam. We come to 66th one where it says Kundalini Bodhakam Shipram Pavanam Sukadam Hitam Brahmanadi Mukhe Saunstaka Kafa Adya Gala Nashanam. Now, earlier also, I don't know whether we discussed this or not. This Kundalini Shakti, which is there at the base, at the Mooladhara, is completely in that congestion of kapha. So here he says, first of all, with the practice of Bhastrika, you are activating the Kundalini. You are making your Kundalini awake. आपकी कुंडलिनी को आपने जागृत कर दिया. तो you are realizing that also. Kundalini bodhakam Shipram Pavanam Sukadam Hitam. It is not only purifying the yogi and proves to be beneficial for him, but also removes the impediments. What kind of impediments? Like phlegm settles down at the mouth of the Sushumna, where it is holding on to the Kundalini. Now here, philosophically, not technical point of view, but philosophical point of view, we are all in the mess of materialism. We are all in that complete boundedness of worldliness. This is something which is not allowing our true energy to get released and get mobilized towards oneness with consciousness. And somewhere Bhastrika relieves you from this bondage and activates the energy to let it flow through the path to become one with the consciousness. So here when he says Brahmanadi Mukhe Saunstaka Kafa Adyagala nashanam. It is going to remove that congestion which is holding on to you, not allowing you to move ahead on the path of yoga. It is going to get released, and this will be like, a purification type of practice which is going to help you to excel on the path of yoga. So this is how this shloka has to be understood.
What is meant by Mukha of Brahmanadi?
This channel, the Sushumna Nadi, the door is the Mukha, which is known as Brahma Dwara, and the top of the Brahmanadi is known as Brahmarandra. In fact, the whole passage is known as Brahmarandra. So at the mouth, the Kundalini, that is the serpent shaped conceptual knowledge. Yeah? It is a concept that this Kundalini is covering the mouth of the entrance. The entrance, it is covering with its mouth the entrance of the Sushumna. Now, what is Sushumna? Sushumna is the path through which the Kundalini Shakti, or we, getting rid of worldliness, are ready to travel onto the path towards oneness with consciousness. So it is covered because we are completely ignorant about it. So covering the mouth is the understanding of the ignorance, avidya. We are not having any kind of knowledge of the same. And once that removal of the mouth of the Kundalini through the entrance is done, then what will happen? The Kundalini itself, because of the flow of energy, will travel. Kundalini, more than a power, is an energy. It is an energy with the help of consciousness, is active in matter. So we are making it get released from the matter and become more active in the consciousness itself and becoming one with it. And that is the traveling through the all the energy centers and becoming one with the self. So the mouth of Sushumna is to be taken as a state of ignorance, a state of avidya, where the Kundalini is covering and we are not aware of it. But the moment you start practicing the pranayamas, the Bhastrika pranayam, what is the result? You are coming to that state of intellectual ability and conscience where all such kind of ignorance is removed, knowledge comes in, and the knowledge tells you to excel towards the oneness with the consciousness. So this is how this conceptual knowledge has to be understood as a practical understanding.
Agreed, sir. But when you say impurities like kapha, vata, pitta, I thought they are only up to ear, nose, and throat.
No.
Now you are saying they go into brain also? Kapha, vata, pitta?
It is existing in the whole body. In fact, vata, pitta, kapha, they are not impurities. They are the essential dhatu to carry out the various functions in the body. But their excess is becoming a problem. If pitta is on excess, if vata is on excess, or in the deprivation, it becomes a problem. It takes you to weakness, it takes you to various other diseases. So the task is to keep them balanced. Once they are balanced, then you are ready to go ahead. That means everything is functioning in homeostasis. The English word of bringing about the equilibrium in the functioning of all the different systems of our body is homeostasis. Here, according to Ayurveda, the balance of Vata, Pitta, Kapha is homeostasis. That is how you have to take it, sir.
No, but in the translation, it is said, phlegm and other impurities. That means it is also equated with impurity, I thought.
That is where it is the literal translation of the shloka.
Okay.
But when it comes to the conceptual understanding, converting it into practical understanding, we have to understand about the ignorance and the knowledge. We have to understand about avidya and vidya, how pranayam removes the ignorance and takes us towards knowledge. And this is very well said in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. The sutra number 52 and 53. It says, Tataha shiyate prakashavaranam. Shiyate, removal, destruction of what? the avaran over the prakasha. Now, what is prakasha here? It is the knowledge, the light of knowledge. And what is avaran? The one which is covering that. And that itself is ignorance. So, if the ignorance is removed, what comes out? It is the bright light of knowledge. And that bright light of knowledge takes us ahead. So, that is how, where we need to understand this and connect it. The literal translation is not going to serve in understanding that concept, sir.
No, that is understood. Very well said, sir.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah.
But still, there will be some physical changes, no?
Obviously, not
so
some, not
so
some, but it will be a complete turnaround.
So, because the first line says,
Hmm.
Shipram Pavanam Sukhadam Hitam,
Huh.
which means you feel very energetic and light.
Yes, yes,
Energetic and light.
yes,
So, that is a physical as well as mental feeling.
exactly. Listen, until you have this physical and mental changes, how you will experience the exposure to that consciousness? You have to come to a level. See, our journey in Trigunatmak Sharira, from Tamasikta to Rajasikta, from Rajasikta to Satvikta. It is not that we are completely getting rid of Rajas and Tamas. They are always going to be there, but their dominancy is going to get reduced. So here, what is becoming more and more dominant? It is Sattva. The more the Sattva is becoming dominant, the more the clarity comes to you. The things become light, the things become pure, the things become bright, and everything becomes very clear and clear. So, because these are the things which you cannot see with your naked eyes or wearing the glasses. This is something which you have to experience by being into it. So the doing and being is different. When you do the practice, of course, you will feel energetic with the body. Of course, you will feel very fresh through the mind. But is this freshness and energy of the body only limited to the understanding of the worldly aspect? No. This has to be converted towards internalization. From external, we have to go internal. As we are becoming more and more internalized, we are helping ourselves to get connected. That is how we have to take it. So today in the morning also, when we were going through the Bhagavad Gita session, how that cultivation of attitude becomes important for us. Okay, how to take these sensual perceptions in the right way so that we understand where it is right and where it is wrong. So that sensual perceptions with respect to the mind is being evaluated with our intellect, where it is going right and where it is going wrong. That evaluation. So the mind and the intellect, they both are working together to carry out those changes. And at that time, the ego can bring impurity into it. So we have to understand what is impure ego and what is pure ego. So from impurity, we have to go towards that purity. And that's how the mind, the senses, the intellect, and this purification in towards total understanding comes to us. And then we go ahead into it. So this is the practical approach of the philosophical aspect that we were going through in the morning today. This is how we can connect and understand to it. You got it, sir? Yes. So now when we are going ahead, see, this is a very beautiful, that's why Hatha Pradipika is most admired, most appreciated. And though technically speaking, Gheranda Samhita is more with the knowledge, understanding. But Hatha Pradipika, coming with less practices, coming with less explanation, it is trying to make us understand the conceptual things. But if you go to Gheranda Samhita, such kind of conceptual understanding will not be explained. It is not given also. Only understanding of practical, technical aspect is more emphasized. So that is where Hatha Pradipika for all of us becomes very important. As a, you can say, yoga sadhak itself.
Like this line very much, sir. Kundalini Bodhakam Kshipram Pavanam Sukhadam Hitam. It tells you what you are going to experience.
Exactly.
Not what
That's
only
why
you are
I
going
stopped.
to know. Not only what you are going to know, but what you are going to experience.
Exactly. So that's why I stopped and discussed the technical part earlier, then coming to the conceptual understanding of the same, how to connect to it and how to bring about the changes. So what happens, many a times, even Sabir Bhai, when he started his practice, na, So he used to have only one thing in the mind: how I am improving my lung capacity, how I am improving my ability to perform more and more cycles of Bhastrika. That is not important. That is not important. How the practices bring about your the changes in your thinking, how the practices are bringing about the changes in your approach towards life. And pranayama is actually that. It will bring about those right thinking, right changes, wherein you will understand what is good and what is not. And thereby, the intellectual abilities become more and more profound, more and more better and better. And that is where you excel and go ahead. So, well explained by Swatmaramji here. I really appreciate his verses, the way he makes it very clear to us. And if you see the 67th one, again adding something, what he says, Samyak Gatra Samudbhuta Granthi Traya Vibhedakam. The three Granthis, the Brahma Granthi, the Vishnu Granthi, and the Rudra Granthi, they are going to get pierced. Visheshanaiva Kartavyam Bhastrakyam Kumbhakam Tvidam. Now, friends, please pay special attention to this Bhastrika, Kumbhaka, so that you are getting into that ability of piercing through the three granthis. Now, when we are talking about three granthis, authors have made us understand how you can go ahead and connect it to yourself. When we say Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, and Rudra Granthi, these are the three forces: the force of creativity, the force of sustainability, the force of destruction. These are the three forces which we call as gods. These three forces are existing within us and they are carrying out various functions. You have to go beyond the activity of the three forces and become with the ultimate one. That means Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, somehow they are the connectivity with the universal forces. But at the same time, beyond these universal forces, there is a universal energy which is controlling all these three forces. And we have to reach and become one with that. So understanding here, it says Samyak Gatra, as it effectively cuts. What it says? Samudbhuta Granthi Traya Vibhedakam. All the three Granthis are going to get pierced and going. That means we are going beyond the understanding of these three forces, these three energies, these three understanding of the creation of the universe or the world, you can say. So we are going beyond it and we are becoming into it. So that means Bhastrika has that ability to lead a person not only to activate his Kundalini energy, but also to become one with the self itself. That's how we have to understand the great Bhastrika Pranayama.
Here we are introducing another notion of Granthi. Earlier it was Nadi. Now you are bringing in Granthi.
Yes. And these three Granthis have been explained more later. And they have been explained in Gheranda Samhita also, as we are also going to do that text also. These three Granthis, it is said that the Brahma Granthi is situated somewhere near to the navel region and below. And it is connecting to these three energy centers, these three Padma or these three chakras. What are these three chakras? The Mooladhara, the Swadhisthana, the Manipura. The moment you overcome all the desires, all the expectations, you are getting rid of every aspects of worldliness. You are going beyond the Brahma Granthi. And then the practice is going on. The moment you overcome your emotions, your love, your compassion, which are connecting you to the world, or you can say the worldliness, then you are going through the Vishnu Granthi. And you are even going beyond the Rudra Granthi, then you are overcoming everything that is connecting you to the material, even the Sattvikta. The Sattva is also belonging to that Trigunatmak Sharira. Even you have to drop that. The moment you have dropped that, you are becoming Gunatita. You are going beyond the three gunas. And that is where the destruction, Rudra Granthi is connecting us to overcoming the let go, overcoming the understanding of becoming attached to ultimate aspects. Otherwise, there are many yogis who have practiced yoga and attained siddhis, but they are so much attached to the siddhis that they cannot go beyond it. They feel that they have attained what it was meant with the practice of yoga. But the third chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and even here, it is being clearly making us understand that these are the powers which are going to make you understand that it is a symptom to understand that yes, you have come to a certain level, but this is not the level that you should be stuck and be there. In fact, you have to let go it and go beyond, and that complete surrendering attitude and going beyond can always come to us with the practice of Bhastrika. Otherwise, we always say, na, chanting of the Mahamrutyunjay mantra will make us get rid of our attachments, will make us, adapted to that self-realization. We will create that conducive atmosphere to become realized with the self. So, at the right time, to let go. Urva rukam eva bandhanan. When we say the right time you have to release, like the cucumber gets released from the creeper at the right time. That is what we need to understand here. So when the right time comes, this Bhastrika has that ability to make you let go with everything and go beyond. That is the beauty of this explanation, sir. It is already 11:48. I think we should stop here now. Didn't realize that. So, anyways, we started 5 minutes late. So, but at the same time, we should stop here now. Next class, we will be doing pranayama and completing it. Okay.
Oh. Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti. Shanti. Thank you.